Welcome to View from the Top. I am Modele Sharafa Yusuf, and I thank you for tuning in. I'm sure you won't be sorry that you did. The goals of the national drug policy are to make available to Nigerians adequate supplies of drugs that are effective, affordable, safe, and of good quality, and to ensure the rational use of such drugs and to stimulate increased local production of essential drugs. How well has the policy been implemented, and how are the local manufacturers rising to the occasion? Today, I will be speaking to one of Nigeria's most accomplished women, Dr. Mrs. Stella Okoli, founder and CEO of Emzor Pharmaceutical Industries. Mrs. Okoli, we thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's quickly do the fast facts on Mrs. Okoli before we settle down to our conversation. Born in Kano on 30th July 1944, Mrs. Stella Okoli studied at Bradford University, from where she got a bachelor's degree in pharmacy and later got a master's degree in biopharmaceutics from the University of London, Chelsea College. She has attended executive management programs of the Harvard Business School, Lagos Business School, as well as IESE, Barcelona, Spain. Before establishing Emzor Pharmaceutical Industries in 1984, she had worked in a few establishments at home and abroad, including the Boots Pharmacy in England and the company now known as Pharmadeco in Nigeria. Dr. Stella Okoli has held several professional leadership positions, which include chairman of the Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Group of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the Economic Summit of Nigeria, and Health Matters Advisory Board of Nigeria. Let me start with this quote from the National Drug Policy. The policy shall seek to promote self-reliance in national drug consumption, as well as the contribution of the local pharmaceutical industry to the national economy through exportation. I recall that the first edition of that policy was launched in 1990, but the expectations have been largely unrealized. What, in your opinion, is delaying the full implementation of that policy?
It's a very good policy, the national formulary. But it could do much better than it's doing. 70% of the drugs that are used in the hospital must be procured.
Must be procured, but right now
from indigenous pharmaceutical industries. That's not being done. I think that some of the people that actually are the helm of affairs either don't know or do not bother. You know, and that's the area where we're channeling advocacy to. Because drugs are very strategic in every economy. And it is also of a security, national security, that every country must have an industrial base, pharmaceutical industrial base, where they have their own products, that they will protect their own people in any eventuality. You know, it's a security item. So I'm sure that was, you know, behind the minds of those that, you know, had that policy. There's a lot of things that are probably contributing to not having this policy work the way it should be. It's very important that we go back to basics. It's very important because when I went into pharmaceutical manufacturing, I was expecting that in a few years after I started manufacturing, that I would, you know, be doing like bulk drugs. So I had done my homework on a petrochemical industry, where we'll be getting our raw materials from, and I had acquired, you know, the technology to do so. But there has been massive delay in getting the petrochemical industry where the third phase, where the pharmaceutical raw materials will come from. So you will now find that instead of us being a net supplier of pharmaceutical raw material, we are not importer. The government is trying to address it now, because there are one or two petrochemical industries that have been licensed that will come on stream. But this is more than 20, 30 years too late. So we're looking forward to having raw materials from Nigerian petrochemical industries so that things are easier. We save some foreign exchange. We do not have to import everything, all our raw materials from all sorts of places. When we have our own, we have the oil, we can get our own raw materials. So you find out that a lot of countries now have taken advantage of it, and they are dumping. They are dumping all manners of drugs here. It should not be. Our DG NAFDAC and his colleagues are doing their best to stem this. But a lot more needs to be done. A lot more needs to be done. Talking about dumping,
about 70% of essential drugs are still being imported, according to the DG NAFDAC, who we just mentioned now. Is it that Nigerian companies are unable to bridge the gap between demand and supply, or is it just this petrochemicals challenge that is keeping this from happening?
It's a mixture of both. It's not that Nigerians cannot bridge the gap. They cannot bridge all the gaps, because if you're talking of certain research-based life-saving drugs, but we don't have the technology, that is different. But the 70% or whatever percent anybody is quoting that is being imported should not be. It's a collective effort to stop it. Because we are here importing poverty. That's what we're doing. And exporting, whatever that will make us be who we are. We have no business allowing importation of drugs that we can make here. You don't see any country that does that. That's why I call it dumping. This dumping has started a long time ago, and we speak against it. We don't want it. We must stop it. And it's a collective responsibility to do that. Because what will the young pharmacists look up to? How are they going to start their own manufacturing? If they see that their, industry is being taken over by foreigners, it's not that their products are better than, what they're making. So that should be stopped, and as a responsibility of government, they try to list a few. And that's like 7-8 years ago. There shouldn't be more. But there are a long list of things that should be made here.
You talked about the quality of the drugs being imported now. As you said, imported drugs are not necessarily better than those made here. But what are the manufacturers doing to give people, especially the elite, the confidence that drugs manufactured in Nigeria are as effective as those imported?
Elites have problems in Nigeria. Let me just tackle about quality of the products. Emzor paracetamol,
for example,
is more efficacious than any other paracetamol in the world. And I don't my heart for my elites in this country, because they carry it with them when they travel to other countries. I don't ask for them. But, politics can be a little tricky. You find I have a pharmacy. How do I make money? I get some of the orphan drugs. Orphan drugs are drugs that are not made in Nigeria, and they're not consumed in large quantities. And I put them in my shop. And I refuse to stock in locally manufactured drugs, so that I can get the premium. But I must tell you that Nigerians, obviously, that's what we saw like 5 years ago. But I think these are some chemists, they're now buying made in Nigerian products, and selling to the elites.
A lot has been said about the fact that power is a problem of industries in Nigeria, but isn't that simplistic and one-dimensional?